And we are back.
It's us again, the Horror Guys.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
And we've got, believe it or not, 4
Shark
movies and a short for you.
Shark Week.
Dun, dun, dun. Nope, actually none of them are Jaws this week.
But
we got 4 other shark movies.
Jaws inspired us to explore more.
Yeah. Before we get into that, though, probably should mention that our 5th issue of the Horror Bulletin monthly magazine is now out. Go to horrorbulletin.com. Follow the links from there. It covers all the reviews from January, including the ones we're going to talk about here today.
As well as secret, untold reviews.
Yes. Last week's secret untold reviews, for example, were Swallow from 2020, about a woman who eats things that she shouldn't be eating.
Flick.
And The Lost World, which is generally considered to be the very first science fiction film.
Well, the first daikaiju, first giant monsters.
Giant monsters, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Early science fiction.
And before that, some of our bonus reviews were The Wolf House, a weird animated thing, and Eraserhead, an even weirder non-animated thing.
Eraserhead will give you a headache.
Yeah, it will, yeah. See you next week. Next week, here's a sneak preview of our bonus reviews. We've got the original 1933 King Kong.
Hot diggity.
And 2006's Pan's Labyrinth. Of course, all these are free. All you need to do is go over to horrorbulletin.com, sign up for the mailing list, and every week you will get the bonus reviews in your mailbox, including 2 reviews that we don't talk about on the podcast.
All right.
Ooh, exclusive stuff. All right, so we got 4 movies this week.
Spirit Shark, do-do-do-do-do-do. Giant Shark, do-do-do-do-do.
Wow.
Flying Shark, do-do-do-do-do. Nazi Shark, do-do-do-do-do.
Yes, you can sing that stupid song with all 4 of these movies. We're going to start out with Shark Exorcist from 2015. They're going to need a bigger cross. Ouija Shark.
That's actually one of the lines in the movie.
Yes, Ouija Shark from 2020. They're going to need a bigger board. Of course, they fit that in the movie, too.
Mm-hmm.
The Meg from 2018.
Which isn't really horror, but we fit it in anyway.
It's as much horror as Jaws was.
Yeah.
It's a monster.
It's a daikaiju, sort of, yeah.
And Sky Sharks from 2020. Did they have we're going to need a bigger something in that one?
I think it did, yeah.
I think it did. We'll probably get to it. All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
And we're going to start out with Shark Exorcist from 2015. Written and directed by Donald Farmer. Stars Angela Corrects, Bobby Corrects, I guess they're a married couple, and Channing Dodson, an hour and 11 minutes. Trailer in the show notes. And definitely recommend, especially with these first 2, watch the trailers before you commit. They're pretty bad.
Well, they worked hard at them.
Okay, the spoiler-free part is it's got an evil nun, a demon shark, demonic possession, murder, and mayhem. And that's just on the poster. The recipe for a great movie? It's okay, but it's a little half-baked. What'd you think?
I thought it was half-baked.
Yeah,
it's got some. It's
not the worst thing we've seen in this month.
Yeah, there's some entertainment there.
Some
good moments. Yeah, some good points.
All right. Well, we open on a nun walking through a cemetery. A news report talks about police looking for a murdering nun. Well, this is probably her. She leaves the cemetery and goes to the beach. Because nuns in the big black habits spend a lot of time at the beach.
Well, she's a bad nun.
Well, okay. Yeah.
Bad nuns go to the beach.
She swears vengeance upon the world. And another woman comes up and yells that everyone knows what she did. The nun then stabs the woman. The nun dumps her body into the ocean as she calls on Satan to send her an avenger. An obvious CGI shark with glowing eyes appears as the credits roll. 1 year later, Lauren, Emily, and Allie are on a road trip to the State Park Lake. Allie goes for a swim, and we see that the shark is nearby. The shark attacks, but is just a little bite, so they take her to the hospital.
Just a little leg nibble.
Yeah, still, Allie writhes around in pain on the ground for far too long.
And that's a common theme throughout this one, women writhing.
Yes, a lot of writhing in
yes,
this.
multiple, 4 or 5 women writhing.
Yeah, and I'll point them mostly out when we get to them. Well, then we switch over to an episode of Ghost Whackers, a paranormal investigation show. Nancy is a psychic, and she goes to the lake to commune with the spirits of the 3 dead girls who died there recently. She calls on the spirits, and then goes into convulsions, writhing on the ground. "These waters are mine," says whatever's possessing her as she writhes on the ground. Allie now is totally recovered. She doesn't even have a scar. Emily complains that all Allie wants to do anymore is soak in her tub. Allie struts off and hitches a ride with a strange man, and she talks him into taking her to the lake. Before long, they're making out in the water, at least until the shark eats him, just inches from shore. It's a very small shark, because it's like 3 feet of water.
Well, it's a magic, cursed demon shark.
All right, well, that's the worst kind.
Doesn't need deep water.
Brianna Bennett, a paranormal debunker, charges in and insists there's no spirit here, just a real shark.
In freshwater.
It is a freshwater lake, yes. Yes, it absolutely is a freshwater lake. It said that several times.
Mm-hmm.
We then cut to Father Michael, a priest with acting books on his desk. Apparently these are unread books.
We noticed that.
Yeah, if you freeze frame, you can see that the books are all about acting. He then gets a letter stating that his brother died a mysterious death. 3 witches call upon the spirit of Sybil in the cemetery, while another woman writhes on the ground. One of the witches goes into convulsions and writhes on the ground. We suspect that the director has a fetish for watching women writhing on the ground. It's like the 3rd or 4th or 5th time already.
It does make you wonder.
A woman plays with toy sharks and runs into Allie. Allie says she likes to get wet, so the girl takes her home to get into the swimming pool. The girl plays with her shark toy while Allie circles around like a predator, and then Allie wakes up in bed. Was that a dream? Once again, Allie goes into the lake and someone gets eaten. What is her connection to the shark? Meanwhile, Nancy becomes possessed and pukes all over Brianna. Holly, Michelle, and Sheila are doing a sorority initiation thing. 2 of the girls have to swim out into the lake without being eaten by a shark. But no, the shark jumps up on the bridge and eats the 3rd girl instead.
That's okay,
Shades of Samuel L. Jackson.
She was mean, so
yeah.
She deserved it.
Father Michael shows up at Allie's house looking for her. We don't really know why. He talks to Emily about the shark attack on Allie. The 2 of them go to the amusement park where Allie is prowling for victims, and we see that Allie has grown pointy shark teeth. Father Michael interrupts the attack, and next thing we see is Allie tied up in the middle of an exorcism. "We're gonna need a bigger cross," yells Emily. There's green projectile puke, which, you notice there's always green puke in an exorcism.
And boy, is there in this one. They must have used a gallon.
Michael offers to take the demon into himself to free Allie. Never seen that before. Suddenly, a sky shark flies down from the sky and eats them both. Sometime later, a woman goes to the beach while a man watches her from behind a tree. He's a creeper, all right. He takes photos of her while she sleeps.
No, she doesn't writhe, but she's laying there in her bikini.
Yeah. She wakes up and there's no one around. But then the killer nun gets her. Then the shark woman grabs and eats her. Later, we see Emily become the new demon shark. Finally, just to drag things out a little longer, we spend 5 minutes watching a young woman play with plush sharks in an aquarium gift shop.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of things happen in this movie, and some of them are related to each other. Some of them aren't.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing worse than a man-eating shark in a freshwater lake. Okay, maybe a demon-possessed shark is worse, but only a little bit. This is one of those low-budget indie films that are essentially a bunch of random scenes stitched together into some semblance of an incoherent story. My synopsis above is far more coherent than the real movie. How did Father Michael even know about Allie? Why did the nun summon the demon shark in the first place?
Because she was bad.
Evil, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Where was she and the shark for a whole year? What happened to demon-possessed Nancy? She was possessed, she puked on the other girl, and we never saw anything come of that.
Then she wasn't.
And then there were the 3 witches in the woods. What did that have to do with anything?
And then we didn't see them again.
No, we didn't see them again. And the woman at the end with the gift shop plushie dolls. That was unnecessary too. Still, the camera work is actually very good. Everything is very brightly lit and it all looks sharp. The acting, on the other hand, is, not so good. There is so much writhing on the ground. It's like they wanted to do sex scenes, but could only afford one actor on screen at a time. It's not the worst thing we've watched, but it is pretty bad. There are, however, lots of girls in bikinis and lots of writhing if you're into that sort of thing. Wow. Okay, we did the demon shark.
Now we got the Ouija Shark.
The ghostly shark.
Ghostly Shark.
Yes.
And this one's ghostly and flying.
Yeah, Ouija Shark from 2020. Directed by Brett Kelly, written by David A. Lloyd and John Miglione. Stars Steph Goodwin, Zoe Town, Tobin Hodge. Hour and 11 minutes. And once again, watch the trailer before you step into the water.
This one even says gonna need a bigger board on the poster.
Yeah, oh, it does. Okay. Mm-hmm. What's more scary than a great white shark? How about a levitating, growling ghost of one? It's as silly as it sounds, yet still manages to be kind of entertaining. Don't rationalize, just sit back and enjoy it. So, Shark Man, what happened?
Jill gets out of the car, but her friends aren't there yet. She gets impatient and goes walking down a trail to the beach. She gets in the water briefly, but something creeps her out and she leaves. She finds a wooden Ouija board floating in the water. She takes it with her. Her friends finally call, and she takes the board, meets them up. A group of 4 friends are at a house, and one of them is house-sitting and got the okay for guests. Well, Jill is one of the guests, and she doesn't really know these other gals, but they introduce each other. And meanwhile, things move fast. They all get in the house, and one of the girls goes out the car to get stuff, sees the guy next door washing the car, says, "Hey, can I help?" And suddenly there's a montage as she takes off her top and strips down to the bathing suit. And so there's a
Does this have something to do with sharks
cleaning.
Or ghosts?
No. There's like a kind of a music montage of them washing the car.
Okay.
Yeah. And we never see her again.
Yeah, she comes back. She's a character.
Oh, that's
later.
That's right. Yeah.
She puts her shirt on so you didn't recognize her.
That's right. But it's a while, yeah. Well, the girls eventually get bored of bouncing around in the pool and settle down to play Ouija on Jill's newfound board. And they put their hands on the pointer and ask questions. "How did you die?" one asks. "Hungry," it responds. "Where are you from?" "Hungry," it answers again. One-track mind, apparently. Yeah. Well, suddenly we get a vision of a shark coming right out of the board. And they all get up to do other things. That's enough of that. That night, Jill calls her dad, tells him everything. He's kind of a paranormal expert kind of guy. Well, the next day, a couple goes to the beach where Jill was earlier. They see a shark, or a ghost, or a ghost shark. The shark growls, chases the guy through the woods. Later, a girl back at the pool offers the shark a hit of her joint, but the shark eats her.
At no point does this shark appear in water, by the way.
It's just a floating, translucent ghost of a shark. Yeah. Well, Jill's dad does research on spirit sharks. Why would anyone want to summon a shark, he asks. And then he deals out some tarot cards, so he knows that this is really serious.
When the tarot cards come out,
Death.
you know it's time.
Death is one of the cards that comes up. A shark card didn't come up, but, he knows, yeah. Well, a couple of cops start looking for the missing girl. The shark kills one cop inside a building. Well, they're more like forest rangers, aren't they?
I don't know.
I don't think they're cops.
Okay.
Yeah, they're park rangers. But anyway, and then it eats Jen and Tiffany out in the woods and Donna near the pool. Jill's dad goes to a psychic, but the shark finds him and gets him.
The shark eats him right in the psychic's little crystal ballroom.
Yep. Well, Jill goes back to her car, dresses in badass leather, and grabs a shotgun.
It's time for some killing.
Mm-hmm. A hooded easy for me to say. A hooded figure approaches and explains that he was the one who put the shark's spirit in the board. He thinks she might be able to use the board to send the shark back to hell. Then the figure vanishes. The second cop, or ranger, goes around looking in the woods, and he's next to be chased. Both Jill and the cop shoot at the shark, but of course it doesn't slow it down because it's just a ghost shark flying in the air. Jill's dad talks to Jill through the Ouija board. He's a spirit now. Good spirit, though. Well, Jill's dad fights the dead shark, and they're both ghosts, so now Dad can use his occult training, kind of in a Doctor Strange sort of manner.
Same kind of effects.
Yeah. They fight, and there's an explosion in the sky. Jill shoots the Ouija board, and the shark vanishes. Jill and the ranger leave, but the hooded figure shows up. He calls the President of the United States and reports to the Orange Mega Man that the experiment was a success and soon can go worldwide. The President says this is going to be huge and cackles in laughter.
Now, you can't say it like that. It's huge.
Huge.
With a Y.
Yeah,
because he's orange.
I can't impersonate him good.
He's orange and he's got that hat. So who could it be?
Well, they don't actually show his face, so we don't know.
Which president do you imagine that's probably doing there?
Yeah.
All right, well, Ouija is a relatively new and popular horror franchise that we haven't actually seen any of them yet, have we?
No, we haven't.
Anything with shark in the title sells, so naturally someone had to bring the bright idea to combine the two. It must have worked. After all, we watched it. We fell for it.
And I think that sometimes people just have two columns of,
random words.
Two lists, and pick one. Okay, match them up.
Yeah,
there we go.
Absolutely.
Ouija Shark. Perfect.
The cinematography, pacing, and music were actually all very good here. The acting was appropriate for the material, but I won't say it was great. The shark animation is just ridiculously bad. It's kind of like a half-exposed hand puppet, I think, in some cases. It's so bad as to be funny. I could be wrong, but yeah, it was just a double-exposed hand puppet. We laughed several times during this one. It's really, really, really dumb. But it was a fun kind of dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Which did you like better of the two? They're both awful movies, but which one do you think is better?
Definitely this one.
You like the Ouija better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there was more humor, more deliberate humor in it. And
the story actually made more sense.
Yes.
There was not just so much random crap strung
less
together.
choppy. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And since we've talked about sharks already, and we're going to talk about sharks some more, let's do something different and talk about a short film that has nothing to do with sharks.
Luna from 2022, a brand new short film directed by Blake Vaz. Blake Vaz, yes. Written by Roman Arabia and Mike Bain. Stars Fernando Romero, Lauren Baer, Lauren Deshane.
Yeah, it's 10 minutes long. And we don't have a link to watch this, and it's still doing the rounds at the festivals. But if you do Google it, it's Luna, Luna, and L.U.N.A. So I don't know what you got to do to look for it, but it's a good one. We liked it.
And those personal assistant devices that you have, the lady in the tube. Well, this is
You've either got one in your phone or one on your desk.
This is a fictional brand of
called Luna.
Lady in the Tube, and her name is Luna.
Hey, Luna.
Hey, Luna, do this. Hey, Luna, do that. Hey, Luna, can you summon a crafty and wicked spirit for me? Well, she does. Yeah, they don't deliberately ask that, but she starts channeling, strange voices. And sure, how about something in the basement?
Well, I've got one of those things, and it tells me some strange things once in a while.
Mm-hmm. Well, Lillian works long hours and argues with her boss on the phone. She's a technician for the Luna Company. She rings the doorbell. This is the last house, thank goodness. She's been sent to fix a problem with the couple's virtual assistant, Luna. Lillian goes inside to find this is a very strange house full of strange antiques. Luna turns itself on in the middle of the night and says something in Spanish. She listens, and it says, "Help me, I'm in the basement." Well, the couple just moved in. They haven't been down in the basement yet.
Yeah, and we'll leave the rest for you.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. It looks great, with excellent camera work. The house is really cool, the music is appropriate, and the characters are well acted. It's suspenseful, creepy, and better yet, it's kind of pretty much a whole story in under 10 minutes.
Yeah, you should check it out if you get a chance.
We don't get a lot of explanation, but it's neat. We both like it.
Mm-hmm, very much.
And for the big budget movie this week, we have The Meg from 2018. John Turteltaub directed it, written by Dean Georgaris, John Hober, and Eric Hober. Stars Jason Statham, Bing Bing Lee, and Rainn Wilson. Hour and 53 minutes. What if you took Jaws and inflated it to be bigger than a house? Giant shark.
Giant shark. Do, 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 do.
It never gets old, does it?
It never does. No.
And I hope that goes through your head all week like it will be mine.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler free. It's much more of an action thriller than a horror movie, but it's got some scary moments. It's also one of those movies set in the current time, but inexplicably has a science fiction level of technology. Don't nitpick the science or the violations of the laws of physics, and you'll have a good time watching this one. Yeah, what's the story with that? They do that all the time. Those Godzilla movies are like that.
Mm-hmm.
All this super scientific, advanced stuff, but yet it's like today.
Mm-hmm. That's strange. Yeah, television shows do that a lot too. Crime shows and.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a thing.
Just CSI with all their super science.
Maybe they've always kind of done that.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, we begin with a deep sea rescue mission in one of the ocean's trenches. Jonas Taylor boards the ship. This is the worst one he's ever seen. He picks up a guy and heads for the exit. Something outside the sub hits them. Something big. He orders the men to get out quick as something is trying to crush the hull. They break away just as the damaged sub explodes with his two best friends aboard. In Shanghai, China, 5 years later, on the Mana 1 research station out in the ocean, Mr. Morris arrives by helicopter. I think he's supposed to be like an Elon Musk type.
He's the rich boss.
Yeah.
Yep. Billionaire.
He meets Mr. Zhang and his daughter Su Yin. In an undersea research lab, it's all very futuristic. We meet Dr. Heller, Jax, DJ, and Mac, the station chief. And these are all recognizably distinct people with names, so you know this is going to have some alien aspects to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's also got some, if you remember Deep Blue Sea.
Uh-huh, yeah.
It's got some aspects of that to it.
And The Abyss. And pretty much any undersea movie is... They're kind of all the same, aren't they, in a lot of ways?
They have some similarities in common, yeah.
What they watch as a small sub piloted by Laurie Taylor goes way down deep. They believe that the bottom of the Marianas Trench may not be the bottom of the ocean. There could be a whole other world down there. The sub finds that the bottom is just a cloud, and they pass right through. The water is warmer underneath, and they immediately find lots of new life forms down there.
Yeah, the water is super cold, and there's like this vapor barrier, and then that's what's holding in a whole other biosphere underneath it.
Yeah, I have no idea how the science would really work, but it makes sense in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Something really big approaches the submarine. The pilot yells, "Jonas was right!" as the connection was lost. They're not dead. They're getting telemetry on their signals, but the sub is crippled. Can they do a rescue below 10,000 meters?
Who are you going to call?
Jonas, who is now a washed-up drunk living in Thailand. You notice when there's these failed, washed-out old drunks, they always live somewhere really cool and seem like they just live without a worry in the world with all the money and drinks they could afford.
In this case, yeah. And I have a further note that I added on that, too. But for being a washed up drunk, he still is absurdly handsome and athletic and as ever. They did that in one of the James Bond movies recently with Daniel Craig.
Yeah.
You know, he quit and he's done nothing but sit around and drink for, like months. And
still looks good.
Yeah. I remember there was a Dolph Lundgren movie where he was in his prime, when he was in his prime, when that same kind of thing. Like, he's been, drinking and doing nothing for a year.
He can sober up and be in shape in 24 hours with a quick coffee montage.
Mm-hmm,
yes.
Yeah, a trip to the gym and a shave, and they're good. Except not in Jason's case. He doesn't shave.
He doesn't shave, no.
He's got perma-stubble.
More hair on his chin than on his head. Well, they go to Jonas, and he refuses to help until they tell him who was piloting the sub. It was his ex-wife. Zhang thinks they encountered the same creature he did 5 years ago. For being a washed-up drunk, he still looks as absurdly handsome and as athletic as ever.
Good thing.
Su Yin takes a mini-sub down next, like an hour before Jonas gets there because she just can't wait.
Right.
Jonas arrives just a few minutes later, and he takes another sub right after her. 8-year-old Mei Ying, Su Yin's daughter, showed him around the sub first. They both pass through the cloud layer and enter the new world. Meanwhile, Lori, Toshi, and The Wall, there's a character named The Wall, are in their disabled sub, watching out the windows for it. Su Yin arrives, and the thing outside hits her as well. Now, it's a giant squid. The squid is about to crush her sub, but the squid is then eaten by a 25-meter-long super shark. She ends up heading back to the base while Jonas continues on. Jonas gets Lori and The Wall out, but Toshi ends up sacrificing himself. He takes them back to the station, so everything's going to be fine now. Right?
No. As soon as they did that, I was thinking, that shark thing is going to follow him back.
No.
Yeah, sure enough.
Well, the big shark thing turns out to be what was called a megalodon, the largest shark that ever existed in history. They were thought to be extinct until now. Morris wants to go back down there and learn more about this new creature, but Jonas warns against it.
And so, they throw in some real science. Because that was a real thing. Or the megalodon
once.
was a real, long ago. They were the size of a bus and bigger and, much bigger than modern sharks.
Well, their debate about whether or not to go down there doesn't really matter because the Meg has followed them home. Surprise!
Mm-hmm.
They watch the giant eat the whale that hangs around outside their place. Soon after, boats start sending out distress calls from 20 miles away. They leave the base and take a large yacht out to hunt the Meg. They find it quickly enough and make a plan to sedate the Meg that involves dragging Jonas in a wetsuit around with a harpoon. He manages to shoot it with a tracker. Su Yen then gets in a shark cage and tries to shoot it with poison. She shoots it, but it tries to swallow her whole cage. Jonas rescues her just as the poison takes effect and kills the Meg. It's dead, so everything's fine now, right?
Yep. They haul it up on the boat and...
No, because then the big megalodon attacks,
Whoops, there
eating
was more
the
than
little
one
one
got
and
out.
destroying the entire boat. There were 2 of them, and this one's like 5 times bigger than the first. Morris calls for help on his sat phone while Heller gets eaten. They board 2 motorboats, but the Meg pursues. Morris's helicopter arrive, and they start shooting at the shark, which drives it off. They make it back to the Mana 1 base, but I cannot say his name. Zhang dies along the way. Morris says the Chinese are sending destroyers to kill the Meg, and the evacuation ship will be coming tomorrow morning to clear the base. Morris then takes off in his helicopter, and we see that he has depth charges. They blow the Meg into little chunks. Little sharks all come to feed, but suddenly all the sharks swim away. Whoops, they killed a whale, not the big shark.
Yeah, that's, he sends a diver down.
Get me one of
go
those
down and
teeth.
get me one of those teeth, and he comes back up. There are no teeth. It
This thing doesn't have teeth.
I think we killed a whale. Whoops.
Well, Morris then becomes megalodon food. Turns out he lied about the Chinese and the rescue ship. No one knows about their problem. Jonas wants to kill the Meg themselves, but first they get a bigger boat.
They do.
Somebody finally did it.
But boy, do they screw that up.
The Meg approaches the most crowded beach on Earth, and hijinks ensue. It eats a bunch of swimmers before Jonah and Su Yen attack it with torpedoes. Naturally, the new ship gets wiped out too, and all the characters wind up in the water. Only Jonas can save them now, with a harpoon and a knife.
And he does a good job.
With the megalodon cut open, the other little sharks soon finish the job. It's dead, so everything's going to be fine now, right?
As long as no more of them got out.
Right?
Well, I think there's a Meg 2, actually.
Could be.
I think there's a sequel out
Okay,
there.
we're going to have to look for that.
Mm-hmm.
There was so much CGI in this that I wonder if there was even water involved in any of the shots.
Some of them, yeah.
The futuristic technology makes this more sci-fi than a modern-day adventure, but it's all pretty cool. It's more than a half an hour in before we see the monster, but it's still even entertaining up to that point. After that, it's basically Jaws with 2 extra giant prehistoric sharks. The action scenes are excellent, the CGI is so pervasive that you stop noticing after a while, the acting is fine, and everything has a really high production value. They spent a lot on this, it was a summer blockbuster, and it shows.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it had any real surprises or jump scares, but it does what it does well. The obvious comparison is with Jaws, but it's pretty different mostly. Jaws was a quiet build-up of isolation and fear with great interacting characters. And this was more of an action-packed adventure with fairly cardboard characters. They're all kind of one-dimensional. Although the shark is monstrous in size, this is much less horror than Jaws was, and many people don't even consider that to be horror. So yeah, summer blockbuster, high-budget, action movie. And then my favorite of the week.
Nazi sharks, Nazi sharks. And flying.
Flying Nazi sharks.
Nazi sharks.
Yes.
Sky Sharks from 2020.
Easily my favorite of the week.
And easily the silliest.
Yeah, they threw everything they could think of into this one.
If you've seen, what was
Iron Sky.
Iron Sky.
It's the obvious comparison.
Yeah, obvious comparison. The same vein of that. The same offbeat humor, over-the-top technology. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, some real similarities there.
Directed by Mark Fessy, written by A.D. Morell, Mark Fessy, and Kirsten Fessy, stars Thomas Morris, Eva Haberman, and Barbara Nettle, something or other. Barbara's in this.
Sorry, Barbara.
Hour and 42 minutes. Trailer in the show notes. Definitely watch it, but you're going to like this one, I think. The movie sort of brings together all the shark things into one movie and then takes it up a notch. It's got sex, gore, and more gore, even more gore, zombies, and fighting action with gore. You might think they can't top the opening scene before the credits. They can and do. This one's a winner and well worth a watch.
Yeah, what he said.
Not the perfect movie, but it's really funny.
Yep, and fun, yeah.
Well, we start out on an airline, and we see the various characters aboard. We meet Father Rodriguez, who tells the nun about his conversion story. We see that Mr. Michael Morell is a sexist drunk. And at this point, it's starting out like, yep, these people are the stars of the movie. We know what's going on. A couple of recognizable actors. We've seen them in many other things.
Has done a ton of stuff. And he was so funny, and he's getting more and more carried away because the sister asked him, used to be a bad person. He used to be
every gangland movie you've ever seen, he's playing a gang member.
Yeah, well, apparently that's who he used to be, but now he's a priest, and and God, Satan, used to park his car out in front of my house, and he'd play his music loud with his windows rolled down, and Satan was pooping on my toilet, and he's just getting more and more carried away with Satan in his life. And then he found God, and now he's a man of the cloth.
And the other character is one of those Asian actors who always speaks with a Chinese accent, only here he sounds like a big old Texan.
Yes.
I don't wonder if that was really him doing that or dubbed. He was something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, suddenly, anyway, we're all set in on these two main characters, and then suddenly a couple of passengers think that they see sharks flying outside. What?
And there's people riding the sharks.
It's not just sharks, it's men riding on flying sharks. Flying sharks with air-to-air missiles, no less. The shark-riding soldiers board the plane. It's not just shark-riding flying soldiers. These are shark-riding flying zombie soldiers. And they're Nazis, too. Soon, everyone dies. Credits roll. That's how you do an establishing scene.
Mm-hmm.
Actual characters, and everybody dies. Okay, so we're 5 minutes in. Angelique Richter drives to a research lab where investigation of the ancient war machine is on the sign outside. If you got a top secret base where you're investigating an ancient war machine, do you really have a sign like that?
You would not.
Inside,
but it's so we know what it is.
Yeah. Inside, a 115-year-old man is being rejuvenated to a much younger version of himself that still doesn't look very good.
Yeah, he doesn't look a day over 90.
Yeah.
Well, he's mighty ragged, but mighty spry for 115.
Yeah. Their men are starting to look into the plane crash. Meanwhile, in the Arctic, in the Richter research base they're already scanning the object. It's some kind of huge warship that's been crashed there for decades. As Diabla Richter arrives, the Nazi zombies are already in the process of taking over the base. Turns out, the artifact is just full of Nazi zombies in frozen storage. The 115-year-old Dr. Klaus Richter, could you be any more Nazi than Klaus Richter?
I don't think you could.
Says his past is finally catching up with him.
But he's a reformed Nazi.
He's a reformed Nazi, yes.
He used to be.
He outgrew it at 115.
Now he's trying to do good.
As Diabla fights the undead Nazis, the Shark Riders return. One of them injects Diablo with something. That ain't gonna be good.
No.
Suddenly, all the flying sharks and the giant warship just disappear. They can go invisible.
Cloaking.
Yeah, because 1945 had cloaking tech. Diabla's infected with something and is having some odd effects on her. She makes it back to the headquarters, and both she and her sister ask Klaus what he knows about all this.
Well, as a matter of fact, he tells them.
He explains about Dr. Kammler's Nazi research from back in 1944, and we get a flashback. When the German Air Force was being shot down, they came to Kammler for his anti-gravity sharks. They also have K7B, a super soldier formula. It'll even revive their dead soldiers. What's better than super soldiers? Reusing the dead ones.
Reusing the dead ones.
We learn all of this through an awesomated animated featurette. And their special research ship vanished, so Kammler went to Venezuela when things fell apart, as all good Nazis do.
And Richter was there as well, but he came to the United States and went to their side.
Yeah, and he knows all about the K7B, which is how he's alive after all these years.
It juices up live people, too.
Yeah. He says that there are thousands of anti-gravity sharks, including 20 really special ones that could destroy cities. Back in the present, sky sharks are attacking places all over the world. Richter's on our side now, and he wants to strike back. He thinks he knows how to disable the shark's cloaking ability. Air flights are canceled everywhere, and the economies are starting to suffer. The Eiffel Tower is blown up. Big Ben is gone. Pandemonium! One airplane is allowed to fly from the Europe to the USA. The sharks, of course, appear behind it. These guys were bait. The shark riders do their worst, and they do their worst.
Oh,
it's a good scene.
Yes, gore everywhere.
Meanwhile, the Richter sisters are getting their troops ready for combat. They fire their decloaking pulse, but the sharks have mutated to compensate.
Curses.
They're
Foiled.
mutant flying Nazi sharks.
Of course.
Richter says the sharks are coming after him in New York. They know who can defeat them.
Yep.
Their only choice is to activate Project Dead Flesh, which is now it's time for another animated flashback to zombies versus super soldiers in Vietnam this time. I think zombies have been good in all the wars.
Mm-hmm.
Richter sends in his giant, floating, flying, cybernetic, mutant, laser-blasting, armor-plated, mind-controlled megalodon. Say that 3 times.
Wow.
To clean up the little guys while the soldiers in the airplane fight zombies. Meanwhile, Diabla starts to change into a zombie herself, and Angelique tries to stop her. Things go well for the good guys, and the Nazi sharks are no more. The end.
Epic battle.
Yeah, very. Well, the flying sharks might just be the easiest part of this one to believe. There's just so much going on that it could have been a mini-series and still not explained everything. The cast is huge. Go to IMDb and look at the cast list on this. It's got hundreds and hundreds of names.
Usually they don't list names out that extensively. And
Vietnam soldier number 912.
They really do in this, yeah.
Lots and lots of tiny little cameos. We've recognized a few of them, but your mileage may vary. The vast majority of the special effects are CGI. Some of the scenes and sets appear to have nothing real in it but the actors at all. But this is so over the top that it's hard not to love it. The visuals, animation, and especially the soundtrack really sell this one. It's a lot of fun and easily my favorite film this week.
Yep, me too.
And I think all of these, except maybe the Meg, were on Tubi that you can watch for free. So there's that.
There is that.
Good stuff.
Tubi is a good thing.
Tubi is a really good thing, yeah. All right, and that is our show for this week. Come back next week where we're going to have 4 more movies.
They won't be sharks.
They won't be sharks. All right, well, next time we're going to watch Prisoners of the Ghostland from 2021.
Nick Cage.
Nick Cage acts crazy in this one.
What?
There's a stretch. It's a stretch. The Hunt from 2020.
Uh-huh.
Somewhat quasi-political comedy, I'd say.
Yeah.
I'd say it's more comedy than horror.
Comedy, dark satire, horror. Yeah.
The Terror from 1963.
Classic.
More boredom than terror in that one, I thought.
Ooh, harsh.
And The Wicker Man from 1973 that was surprisingly good for both of us.
Yes, it was. I think
shockingly good.
I think previously we had seen chopped up versions of it. And this was
definitely
a whole
butchered
version.
Yeah. Okay, I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
We'll see you next week.
See ya.
No more sharks, do 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 do. No more sharks, do 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 do. No more sharks, do 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 do. They're gone sharks.